Senator, tell me, though, what do you propose for the federal budget to clean up this waste? I know that that's one of the points of releasing a report like this, is to say, hey, not only are these the problems, but here's how we fix this.
Right. So we took large to small type issues. The big issue is we have to change the budget process on how budgeting is even done. The budget process was created in 1974, right after Watergate, to be more transparent in government. What it really did is create a process so complicated it's only worked 4 times since 1974. So we're proposing a very different way to do budgeting so we can put all the budget issues on the table, provide greater transparency, but also a process to be able to pass the budget. This is the 20th year in a row that we've had a continuing resolution in government. We have got to get out of this cycle. The way to do it is to change the process. We also look at the grant programs. There's $650 billion a year in grants. Very little oversight. We want to be able to put a structure in for grants that go out the door. There's real accountability on what they're done, so we don't have a sea duck census and a sneeze food type grant that there's no real accountability for. And when we're dealing with duplication in government, there's no way to get a list of all duplication in government. One of the things that we highlight is we call the definition of insanity. We have 100 different programs in the federal government just on mental health. So we keep doing the same thing over and over again, 100 different times across the federal government. We have to resolve that. The only way that you can see it is to provide clear lists. We have a bill called the Taxpayers' Right to Know that provides transparency in government. It is a way to be able to get at this as well. So we lay all of those out from very large and complicated to very straightforward issues to be able to help solve these different issues.
Right, and that sounds sensible to me, and that would avoid ever having to go to a temporary exhibit on medieval smells. That was one of my favorites from this report. Senator,
Right.
Do you see any of this happening, this bill being passed under President Trump?
I do, actually. We've spent several years trying to build just the issues around the taxpayers' right to know, this transparency bill. We're very, very close to that. It's already passed the House. We work with this White House to be able to pass it. We hope to be able to pass it early in January and to be able to get that done. It'll take several years of transition on that, but we believe that that can actually get done. We believe this administration as well will be serious about trying to root out some of the bureaucracies of our system and to try to simplify that process. So we're going to work with the Trump administration, identify many of the areas that we've already seen. Some of them have been addressed by the Obama administration. Most of them have not. So we're going to try to address that with them and walk it through. Everyone can see it. It's online right now at lankford.senate.gov. And you can take a look at it there, but we're also going to work with the Trump team and be able to take it to them and be able to walk through and say, here's some clear examples of waste that can be victories right away.
Right, and I think I can speak here not only for my own pocketbook, but for the pocketbook of a lot of taxpayers and saying, I hope this does get passed. Senator, we're almost out of time, but let me ask you one last question. Speaking of the Trump administration here, what's the feeling in the Senate about Trump's cabinet nominations? Are you expecting any filibusters from the left?
You know what? There'll be a big battle on some of the nominations, but I think all of them will pass, quite frankly. You know that Harry Reid changed the rules 3 years ago and did what they call the nuclear option to dramatically change all the rules on all the appointees. So they're going to get to experience that. With just 51 votes, we can add in all these individuals. Many of these candidates I know, they're some terrific folks. Scott Pruitt, who is being tapped as Secretary of EPA, is a tremendous person personally, but he's also a very good leader. He's going to be a law and order guy. The big issue with the EPA of late is that they're not following the law. There's been 12 major lawsuits against the EPA of major rulings they've had. Many of those they've lost because they're doing things outside the law. Scott Pruitt's going to walk in and say, let's do the law, let's do the environmental issues. We want to be able to have clean air, clean water, but let's not go beyond the law and to be able to create something they should never do. So some good candidates like that I've seen already, I think are going to do a very good job.
Right, and I kind of like the idea of a man who's currently suing the EPA suddenly being put in charge of it to clean up house there. It's gonna be a fun ride once Trump is inaugurated. Senator Lankford, thank you so much for coming on the show, sir. It was an honor to talk to you.
Glad to visit with you as well.
All right, guys.